So in your comfortable seated position, we're going to do something called a mudra. And it's like yoga for your fingers, right? You put your fingers in a certain shapes and positions, and it increases the flow of energy through your energetic body. And if you've yet to experience what your energetic body feels like, hopefully tonight's that, right? Um, if you don't, just trust me, because one day you will feel it and it's pretty amazing. So the mudra that we're going to use for tonight is for allowing a deeper sense of surrendering. So I'm going to come up to you so I can show you guys what it looks like. But you're going to take pointer to pointer and pinky to pinky. Cool. Now, these fingers are going to curl in, but you're not going to actually touch these fingers together. You're going to touch those fingers to your thumb. So you got this kind of action going on. It's not a this, it's a this. Okay. So doing gymnastics right now. So while you've got this little action going, you're going to take your hands and rest them on top of your thighs. So the wrists are just going to rest on the thighs. Okay. I'm going to have you sit up nice and tall, get a little length through the spine, and then close the eyes for just a minute. And just notice that you're breathing. Letting the natural breath breathe itself. As you're here, I want you to imagine in your mind that we are seated together in person, because energy is universal and it can be felt from wherever you are. So imagine that we're sitting together, we're in our comfortable seated position, and we can all feel each other. Together, let's take an inhale through the nose, fill up the belly, the lungs, the shoulders raise, and then you're going to open the mouth and just let it go. Inhaling through the nose, sighing it out. Cool. 3 more. Draw your attention to the fingers that are touching. Each point where they're touching. Pointer to pointer, pinky to pinky, and inside fingers to thumb. Let your breath return to its own natural pace. And see if you can feel any sensation happening in the fingertips. Maybe there's a warmth or a buzzing. You can feel a gentle swirl, just noticing if anything is here. And it's okay if it's not. Really. Just giving them a few moments to feel into each other. Mudra can be used to ground yourself when you're starting to feel maybe a little anxious or panicky, or just in a general sense of lost. You can come to your breath, feel into points of contact in your hands, and settle it. your next breath in, just gradually increasing your inhalation, taking a little bit more air. And then you're going to go slow and controlled sigh out of the mouth. Two more just like that, filling up with more air, making the breath as smooth and steady as possible as you let it go. Last one. Now, open the eyes halfway so that the room is maybe a little blurry or hazy. And then slowly blinking the eye all the way open and move back. Release the mudra, let that go. You can wiggle out the fingers if they feel a little odd for you. And now that we're here, we're together, and we're connected, we're talking about expectations. And this has been something that's been on my mind a lot, right? I pick a topic and I think about it for the month prior to when we meet. So for me, I've noticed that expectations fall into three categories: realistic, unrealistic, and unknown. And the unknown tends to fall into like a miscommunication, right? I've noticed that we all carry these stories and these ideas of things that we believe. And when we become aware of that thing, we can start to question whether we really hold that true to us or not. So I was driving through Dunkin' Donuts the other day and I pulled up to the speaker and the guy was like, "I'll be with you in a minute. I'm the only one in here." And I was like, whoa, 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 okay. And now for a minute, right? Because we're all about like brutal, ridiculous honesty in this space. So for a minute, I was like, what the fuck? I don't want to deal with that. And then I was like, huh, that's a really interesting reaction. Like, why am I thinking that? So I realized that the expectation that I was carrying is like, dude, you work in service. I'm asking for a tea. But here's the problem is that I completely lost sight for a moment of like love and compassion and empathy, right? So how is it serving me better to sit here annoyed that I have this expectation that you should be like somehow kissing my butt? Like, not to mention when you work it down, you don't. It's like, come on, like, let's be kind, right? So when I became aware of it, I was like, holy crap, like, oh my God, that's so interesting. I carry this expectation because this is the way that I was raised, right? So we all have these unknown expectations. And some of them are they can still fall into that like subcategory of like realistic and unrealistic. And for me, that was unrealistic, right? Then there come the times where like I noticed that Jay, my husband, if you don't know who he is, came into the room and I kind of was like snippy and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I'm like, holy crap. I just had the expectation that you're gonna be so crabby and just I automatically was like, oh, you're in a bad mood. And now I'm gonna treat you like you're in a bad mood, and then you're really gonna be in a bad mood. So carrying some of the expectations that you aren't aware of can cause a lot of harm, like unknowingly. So for tonight, we're going to use two different aspects of yoga. One is called Swadhyaya, and it's just really fun to say. So, try it out if you want to. I'm not going to hear you. But Swadhyaya is like the ability to look so far inward and take stock of where you are. And it's the effort of self-discovery, self-inquiry, leading you to knowledge. The other aspect of this, and I'm probably going to botch the pronunciation because it's not as fun to say, is Ishva Pranidahara, I think. And what that means is to be able to put in the effort of surrender, you can find this amazing moment of balance, right? Where, like, I drove through Dunkin' Donuts. I started studying my thought process. Like, whoa, what was that? Okay, well, cool. I don't really want to feel like that. I'd rather feel like this. So putting in the effort and surrendering what wasn't serving me, right? So the first journaling prompt for tonight is, what unrealistic expectation do you need to let go of? So we'll take, probably like 2-ish minutes to start to put pen to paper. And if you're like, I have no idea, cool. Write out the question and then let your brain answer, because your subconscious will not allow an unanswered question. So again, what unrealistic expectation do you need to let go of? Mm, 30 seconds or so, and knowing that if you want to come back to that, you can finish whatever thought you want to finish after practice. Moving on and layering onto that, the unrealistic expectation that you need to let go. I want you to think about how you can put in effort to surrender and release it. So for me, in the little drive-through moment, um, where I kind of caught myself and was like, "Oh, that's interesting," I realized that this poor guy was so overwhelmed. Like, to think about, like, I would have to be incredibly overwhelmed to be able to respond that way, right? So I was like, whoa, okay, cool. He's clearly having a rough day. All right. I'm gonna be kind because not only is that gonna help me, but it's gonna help him. So I drove up to the window and I grabbed my tea and I was like, "Hey, are you here for the rest of the night, like all by yourself?" And he's like, "Well, I'm here until like whoever relieves me for the night shift." I was like, "Okay, cool." And he had handed me my change, and so I'm all about the like pay it forward, practice abundance, right? So I grabbed like a $5, and I was like, "So if I give this to you, you don't have to split this with anybody else, right?" And he was like, "Yeah." And like this smile, the joy could literally be felt. It was his whole energy changed from two things: somebody being nice and someone saying, "I appreciate you and I'm sorry that you're feeling this way right now." And so for me, like, I don't know this man, but the thing that I could do was be like, "Here's $5. Have a great day." So for you, the thing that you need to let go of, um, where can you put an effort? How can you change where you are in it, even if it's for yourself or another person? You feel like settled with that. One last question. What do you expect from do you expect it to be, soothing and easy? Do you expect it to be challenging? What do you expect? You got that settled in your mind and you need to take a quick bathroom break? Now would be the time. 30 seconds or so. And everyone has a strap, and blocks would be fantastic. If you don't have blocks, I was thinking too, if you don't have blocks, you could get a couple of towels and just kind of stack them to the same height. Um, that would be kind of useful. So let's take that mudra again. So pointer to pointer, pinky to pinky. The two fingers, the interior fingers curving and touching onto the thumb, right? And then settle that down into the left. Cool. So shut down the eyes again, and I want you to just breathe your natural breath. Don't worry about changing anything. But calling to mind all of the expectations that you just wrote about tonight. The things that you think are going to happen. And noticing that by carrying the expectation, you're pulling yourself out of living in the moment. You're setting yourself up with this idea of this thing that's going to happen. And if that thing happens or does not happen, how are you going to? So rather than carry those, we're going to release them into our practice. So together, we're going to inhale through the nose. Big, full, deep breath. Feel the expansion. And then let it go. Cool. Again, inhaling deeply, fully, smoothly, letting it go soft and slow. Carrying this breath, continue breathing. I want you to visualize however it shows up for you and trust what shows itself. That all of these expectations are releasing from you. Bring your awareness to the points of contact within the fingers. Feel into the pads of the fingertips touching each other. Let's take one more final breath. Make it as big as possible. And then at the top, see if you can draw in just a tiny bit more. And then let it go. Allow the hands to release and opening the eyes to that hazy room. And then blinking and coming all the way back. So we'll be working with something in the body called retraction of the shoulder blades. When this happens, the wingtips of your shoulders draw together. So when I tell you to do that, I want you to do that enough that you can feel the muscles in between your shoulder blades turning on. Now, that does not mean you have to go like, and like be tense about it. It's just a gentle activation. So right now we're going to warm up the shoulders with our strap. So you're going to grip it with palms faced up. The elbows are going to get pulled in towards your sides. And then you're going to pull your shoulder blades towards each other in the back. Now, if you grip onto this, and if you don't have a strap that's cool, grab like a belt or even a towel. Hold onto the edge of the towel. What you're going to do is you're going to have this little tug of war, right? You're going to start to pull more to the right than you are to the left. And the right's gonna start to win and the left's gonna lose a little, but you're still gonna give a little bit of a pull, right? Like tug of war. What's gonna happen is you're gonna feel this muscle underneath your right shoulder blade starting to fire up. Now, I want you to pay attention to that sensation and just feel into that a little bit. Take a nice deep breath. And remember that this doesn't have to be tense. It doesn't have to be hard. It can be gentle. I have a tendency to go overkill. Who would have guessed, right? So just notice where you're at. Take 3 more breaths. So inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose this time. 2 more. Last one. So gently allow the strap to fall onto your lap for just a minute. And feel the difference between the right side and the left side. See if you can notice where that muscle is. So let's do the opposite now. We're going to pull more toward the left, and you're going to pull just a little bit of resistance with the right, and you're going to feel the left, the muscle under your left shoulder blade turning on. Right? And at the same time, still trying to draw your shoulder blades together so you feel the muscle that's in between your shoulder blades in the middle of your back. Breathe into it. Two more. Last one. As you exhale, just allowing that to drop. And feeling into left and right shoulder. And maybe it feels like, ooh, those are warm. I haven't felt those muscles in a while. So just doing some gentle shoulder rolls. So we're going to pick the shoulders up towards the ears, roll them back behind you, and then slide them down your back, and then roll the shoulders forward again. We're going to do that a couple times. So lift, roll, draw downward, and then forward. Cool. Again, lift, roll, pull down, and come back to center. One more time. So take the strap and set that aside. We won't need that for any longer right now. We are going to use our blocks. So set aside anything you were sitting on. I'm using one of my blocks as a coffee cup holder. To this side here. So I'm going to show you guys what we're looking for first, and then I want you guys to get into it. And I'll show you, and then we'll move, and then I'll get you there. All right. So we're going to take what's called extended child's pose, and I want your hands to be on blocks for this, because usually child's pose is kind of like this situation. And feel free to get curious about where your knees need to be, if they need to be in closer or they need to be out wider, wherever you are. Usually, child's pose is something like this. So tonight, I want you to hold on to the edge of your blocks. And when you're here, I want you to try to pull your shoulder blades towards each other. And what's going to happen is your chest starts to open, and you can really open through the space inside your whole shoulder, right? So find your blocks, place your hands on them. And then allow the hips to sink down towards the heels. And if you feel like your butt's starting to rise up, you can take your blanket and tuck it right behind your knees over your calves, and that'll assist you a little bit more. So if that feels like something that's like, ooh, that sounds delicious, try it. So while you're here, your hands, I want you to imagine that you're gonna reach like an inch forward toward the top of your mat. And what's gonna happen is it's gonna give you a little more space. And with a little more space comes a little bit more comfort, right? So while you're here, I want you to just very gently push your hands down into the blocks. And what's going to happen is the muscles underneath your armpits are going to fire up for just a second. That's cool. Just holding that for a minute and breathing. So finding your breath and seeing if there's a place that you can soften. Noticing your expectation. Noticing what you think should be happening right now. And can you let that thought go? Become fully present in the moment. Feel your breath. And use the breath to broaden the whole backside of your body. So inhaling through your nose. Exhaling through the nose. Keep that gentle pressure through the palm of the hand. And if the forehead touches the ground because you found a little more space and a little more openness, cool. If it hasn't, that's also totally fine. Staying here for 3 more breaths. Gentle pressure pushing down and that slight reaching forward. Shoulders will rise up towards your ears. Last breath. Now, gently moving one hand at a time. Okay, taking the right hand underneath your right shoulder and then move your left hand underneath your left shoulder and then push away from the ground and rise on up. Awesome. So, taking the blocks out of the way for the next moment, we're going to come into table for a minute. So, straight line, wrist, elbow, shoulder. Also straight line, knee to hip. The spine here is just neutral. It's in its natural curvature. And so now we're going to start to move into cow. And I want you to allow your belly to drop down towards the earth. And what happens is that your pelvis starts to tilt, right? The top of the pelvis is reaching down towards your mat, and the tail is reaching up towards the sky. Now, if you follow that curvature, you can purposefully push your pelvis down a little further and get the muscles of the back, the low back, to start to activate. Now, to challenge yourself a little bit further, if you've got that, can you see if you can allow your chest to sink a little bit deeper, shoulder blades start to pull together, and then see if you can follow that curve of the spine and look up. Now, take a full breath in. As you exhale, we're going to push away from the ground and separate the shoulder blades. We're going to curve the pelvis and scoop round through your upper spine. Really push the upper back towards the sky
and gaze at your navel. So now inhaling, drop the belly. Allow the shoulder blades to meet behind the spine. Look up and take a breath. As you exhale, push away, scoop, round, breathe out. Cool. Inhale, arch your low back. Shoulder blades draw together. Look up. Exhale and round. Three more. Inhale, arch. Look up. Exhale and round. Inhale. Draw the shoulder blades together. Exhale and separate. Last one. Exhale. Come back to that neutral spine. And just notice how you feel. How does your spine feel? How does your back feel? How do your shoulders feel? How about your hips? How does your jaw feel? Can you loosen it? One more breath here. And as you exhale, just shifting forward and gently just lower down onto your belly. Ooh. So feel free to come up onto your forearms for a moment. Take a peek at me. I'm going to show you guys. Typically, when you practice Cobra, there's different variations, and they've never felt awesome for me until I learned a 3-part Cobra, and it feels phenomenal. So we're doing that. So the first thing I'm doing, taking hands to the outside of the mat, right? So watch me for a second. I'm going to show you, and then we're going to walk through it. So hands go to the outside of the mat, and my elbow is still above my wrist and in line with my shoulder, right? So I'm not way back here, and I'm not kicked way up here. I'm here, right? So when you breathe in, you're going to lift from your upper back and round just like cat and come all the way up. And as you get to the top, I'm going to have you guys just soften as you breathe out. And then you're going to lift and lengthen on the next breath in. So the next breath, you're going to pull the belly button in towards the spine, and you're going to curve the back, right? So I'm reaching through the back of my head, and I'm reaching through the toes. And then I exhale on the way down, right? So it's an inhale and an arch up, an exhale and a soften. An inhale to lift and lengthen, and then an exhale down. So join me. Fingertips are wide. Your elbows in line with your wrist and your shoulder. It's not too far kicked back. It's not too far kicked forward. Now, pressing through the hands, and at the same time lifting through the upper back like you're doing in cat. You're going to inhale. When you get to the top, settle and soften. Melt towards the ground. Breathe out. Now, as you breathe in, lift and lengthen. So pull the belly button in, lift the rib cage up, and reach through the back of the feet. Exhale all the way down. Cool. Inhale, lift. Exhale, as you soften, pull your shoulder blades towards each other. Pull the belly button into spine, lift the ribs, lift and lengthen on your inhale. Exhale, release. Cool. 2 more. Inhale up. Soften, shoulder blades meet. Belly button pulls in, lengthen. Exhale, let it go. Now see if you can get a little more fluid with this as you move. So inhale, lift. Exhale, melt. Shoulder blades draw together. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, let it go. Cool. So stack the hands in front of you. Lay your left or right cheek down. And just take it. Where do you feel sensation? Because you want to stay even and balanced, you're going to lift and change cheeks. And as you're here, notice that your heart is connected to the ground. And imagine that all of those expectations that you carry, they live in the heart. Allow them to flow out of the heart and into you. Enjoy one more full breath here. Deep inhalation, smooth exhalation. Taking the hands underneath the shoulders, allow yourself to rise back up to table. Crisscross your legs behind you, and then allow the body to walk and sit behind you. Now, if you're like me and you like to be in the middle of your mat, feel free to scoot forward. And grab your blocks so that, and I'm going to face you guys, but you guys can be faced whatever way you want. But grabbing the blocks so that they're right beside you. Now, legs are going to be extended out straight. Okay. This is a Dandasana. This is staff pose. So it seems like such a simple pose, but it actually takes an incredible amount of low back. So if at any point you're like, oh, this is a lot, you can just take those blocks and kind of push just a little bit to take some weight off your low back. Okay. But eventually just coming back to this spot. So I want you to walk your sits bones back. So that bony part of your butt that you feel, right? I want that to be deeply connected onto the mat. Now, if you can touch your toes, cool. If you can't, also cool. If you can't and you have a strap, you can right over the balls of your feet, okay? So let me grab that. So cool. So if you're using a strap, make sure that when you're holding onto it, it's not allowing your legs to start to kind of cave in towards each other. I want the feet to be still hip distance apart, okay? And I want you to sit up as tall as you can, lift the shoulders, pull them back, right? And then while you're here, you can notice that you can pull gently on the strap. You're going to feel a little bit more activation in between your shoulder blades, okay? So while you're there, I want you to just gently pull. You can feel the muscles in between the shoulder blades turning on. Cool. Shut down the eyes if it feels cool for you, or keep them open. Whatever is your vibe, but take a full deep breath. Out through the nose. See if you can push your chest forward just a little bit. Three more breaths. What is your expectation here? Can you let it go? One more. As you exhale, gently releasing that pull on the strap. No slingshotting action, but just gently letting it go. If you feel like crossing the feet for a moment, just to kind of take that off, that's cool, do it. We're gonna move just for a moment into butterfly. So soles of the feet come together. I want you to take the hands to the maybe the top of the knee, right? Sit up nice and tall. Cool. Pull the shoulder blades back just a little, not a ton of effort, just a gentle kind of sensation. And if it feels okay for you, just lifting legs up and down. Just waking the hips up just a little. Find your breath. Two more breaths here. One more. Cool. Allowing that release, moving back to table. So when you retract the shoulder blades, see if you can do this just in table. Arms aren't going to bend, they're going to stay straight, right? And see if you can allow the chest to fall down toward the earth and just sit here for a minute, right? Just like that cow that we were doing earlier. But see if you can pull enough that you've got that activation. And when you do that, notice that the more you pull together, the more your chest opens. And when you open through the chest, you allow energy from the heart to flow. And most of the time when we carry expectations, we carry along with it these heavy emotions that bring us into a lower vibration that doesn't serve us as well. So every time that you're retracting your shoulder blades and you're opening the chest, imagine that you're just flowing this clean, fresh, vibrant energy. So taking cat cow just for 3 more rounds. Allow the belly to drop down toward the earth. Pull the shoulder blades together. Look up. Take that breath in. Imagine clean, vibrant energy breathing into the heart. And as you exhale, push away from the ground and let that energy flow out of the back, from the rib cage towards the ceiling. Cool. Inhale, arch. Look up. Exhale and round. One more. Breathe out. I'm going to sit on your heels for just a moment. So toes can tuck under if that feels okay for you. You get a little foot stretch while you're there. If that's too much, just come onto the tops of the feet. That's cool. So when you connect your heart to the earth and you imagine that you're free flowing this energy, the more expansive and open the heart, the more easy the energy feels, right? So we're taking a pose called puppy. So when you're coming into puppy, it's kind of like a child's pose, but the hips stay lifted. So I'm going to show you, and then we're going to walk through it. So I'm going to take the hands to the top of the mat, right? I'm going to stick my butt out. My belly is going to drop just like we were doing a moment ago. And as I walk my hands towards the top of the mat, I'm going to start to reach towards it as well, like we were doing a minute ago with that deep shoulder stretch. So as I start to walk the fingers forward, I'm going to feel this lengthening through the side body, and I can allow the forehead to touch, right? Now, if I really start to lengthen as I breathe in, I'm going to breathe and I'm going to take a breath. I can allow to find a little more space. Now, notice the expectation. Notice if you think, oh, I'm going to get them, right? Because that's what's going to take you out of feeling a moment. So join me. Knees are going under hips. And then taking the hands, you can come on forearms to kind of make the process, the transition a little more gentle. Allow the belly to drop. The tail is really sticking towards the sky, so you're really trying to push the top of that pelvis down enough. The low back is starting to work. Now, walking the fingertips towards the front of the mat and allowing the chest to fall forward. Can you pull your shoulder blades towards each other while you're here? Now remember, no strain, just good sensation. So press the palms down into the ground, just gently. Try to pull the shoulder blades towards each other so you can open through the chest. Find your breath. You're going to stay here for 8 breaths on your own rhythm. So breathing in through the nose, out through the nose. Smooth breath. In this pose, I invite you to feel a sense of joy. This is the effort. Feel in a little bit out of this posture. Walking the fingertips back towards the body so that you can support the shoulder as you're starting to move. And then rise back up. You feel like, yeah, it would be good. Just taking one cat-cow here. Belly drops, arch, look up. And then exhaling around. Sit on your heels for a moment.
We'll be doing something called legs up the wall. So if you don't have a wall, that's okay. If you're next to a bed or a chair or anywhere that really you can get your legs over your head, cool. If you can't, grab a couple pillows, place them underneath the lower legs and just lift lower legs. So legs up the walls, a pretty phenomenal feeling. It takes all of the pressure off of your circulatory system. And instead of like pumping into your legs, everything just kind of chills and it's just this really deeply relaxing feeling. So if you've got a wall, the easiest way in is to get right up next to it so that your hip is right there. You can kind of lay it on back and then whoop, feet are going. This is my yoga for the day. I know I'm not centered in my mat. It's gonna be my thing. I gotta let go. Expectation. So wherever you are, if you're on a wall, awesome. If you're not and your legs are raised, awesome. Close down the eyes. And then come back to that mudra and remember. So pointer to pointer, pinky to pinky, inner fingers to thumbs, and just allow it to rest wherever. That's on your belly or your thighs or your chest. Just find that space. And with the eyes closed, right now, feeling the expansion and contraction of your body. Don't let the mind wanders because that is its purpose. That's what it's designed for. You can see if you can let go of the expectation that you need to have a clear and just allow the thoughts to flow. Don't resist them. Don't try to stop them. Just be present and watch your mind take. Enjoy one more full deep breath in and out. Fingers. Allow the feet to come down towards the body against the wall if you're there.
These can open for just a moment. In that little butterfly that we did earlier, just lifting knees up and down. Taking the feet down towards the ground. Moving into rotation. So lie down on your back. And if you want a pillow, use a pillow. You want a blanket, use a blanket. You get to do that. So as you guys settle, I am going to settle you guys in, but I'm gonna sit back up. So you see that happening, but you shouldn't. You should keep your eyes. Don't worry about me. So as you settle, extend your legs. And you know what? If you did put a pillow there for a second, just remove it. My apologies, but remove it for just a minute. And I want palms to be faced towards the sky. Now, walk your shoulder blades towards each other, right? This is that retraction that we're doing, but this is very passive. We're not doing it to engage the muscle. We're just pulling the shoulder blades in so that the arms can be a little bit more comfortable. So I want you to push the backs of your heels down into the ground, right? So toes are pointed towards the sky, and the heel is pushing down into the ground enough that you can feel the legs, the muscles of the back of the legs, right? Now, we're going to follow that. We're going to continue to push everything down. So, can you take the shoulder head and start to push that down? That's going to open the chest a little bit more. Now, open the hands, palm face up, and touch your fingernails to the earth. Now actively press your fingernails down into the ground enough that you can feel the muscles along the back of your arms. Lastly, push the back of your head down so you can feel the muscles along the back of your neck. Holding this doesn't need to be crazy amount of effort, gentle effort. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Open the mouth, let it go with the breath, but continue the engagement with the muscles. Two more. Inhale. Sigh it out. Last breath in, full and deep. And then spontaneously let everything go. Let the muscles release, breath lets go, melt into your mat. Feet will start to roll out to the side, away from each other. And just feeling sensation, feeling what your body feels like in this moment right now. Feel buzz start to roll, swirl, feel energy in the fingertips, tingling, pulsing. This is your energy. Drawing your attention, third eye, your brow center. want you to imagine that you're breathing into this space. As you breathe, notice the sensations that happen. You see a color, you feel this movement happening. As you breathe in through your eye, your third eye, I want you to imagine that you're breathing out of your heart center. So white light moving into third eye. Any gray or black moving out of the heart. Imagine that you're flushing your energetic system. You're breathing in this amazing, clear energy and releasing what does not serve. Each breath in, vibrant, clean energy. With each breath out, letting go what does not serve you and allowing the body to release even deeper into noticing as the mind starts to wander all of your back into the floor. This is the effort to create the balance. And own to mind expectations that are found in. Imagine by drawing in this clean energy, letting go of the gray. That is all of the effort of focusing on the breath, surrender. Next breath, increasing your inhale. Feel the ribcage, the belly expand. Watch as the breath recedes. As you continue to breathe these deep, full breaths, begin to take small wiggle fingers, toes, maybe rolling the wrists one way, And then the other. Pointing the toes and flexing round. And lastly, reaching arms above your head and pointing your toes and reaching in both directions, stretching through the fingers, reaching through the toes, full body stretch to the breath. As you exhale, rolling onto your right side. Take a minute here if needed. Or if you're ready, use the north hand to push forward from the ground, but let the head be the last thing to rise. Move back to that easy seated position. So got that towel or that blanket, put that right under the hips. Just taking hands to prayer position, heart center. Allow the thumb to touch sternum and the middle finger, if it's possible, to reach the third eye. If it's not, that's okay. And while you're here, think about the effort that you placed into the practice. And know that this effortful concentration, this movement of energy, and becoming so aware of your thoughts, this is where you get to decide what serves you best. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for showing up. And thank yourself for choosing to do it. The love in my knees sees and honors the love in my